All right, Jen, thanks so much for taking a little bit of time to talk with me today about your online business. I'm super excited to jump into some of these questions because you have been working a lot on building out your online training business. You've tried a lot of different options. So I'm really excited to have you share some of that with everybody today.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit more about your background. Like, how long have you been doing training, personal training in general, and how long have you been doing online training?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me speak. Hopefully what I talk about today will be helpful to someone out there. But I've been coaching in the fitness world for about 10 years, but it was actually only until this past December that I kind of went full time. So I actually was working more on the marketing and business development side in the fitness industry. So working with small business owners and supporting them, and then just coaching CrossFit classes and different type of classes kind of on the side. Mm-hmm. And kind of over the years, it's progressed to especially kind of culminate to this past year to be like, my passion is in coaching. Like, I like being involved and seeing that progress and having those milestones with clients. So I made the leap to kind of pursue coaching full time just more recently. But I've been doing online coaching really, I guess, on a part-time basis over the last 4 or 5 years. So I've been doing some sort of online coaching for a little bit, but it's always been just kind of a side project. Like, mm-hmm. Once I do a workshop, people reach out asking for support, and then I would kind of offer it just as a side thing.
Yeah.
And now naturally, just with the climate of the world and me diving into coaching more full time and realizing that more and more people want support remotely, and being able to help non-local athletes, it's just kind of naturally progressing that way anyway. So it's been kind of obviously a forced, but in a good way, challenge to dive into that online stuff a lot more thoroughly over the last few months.
Yeah. I think it's definitely been a push. The pandemic has been a push for trainers who were kind of like dipping their toe in, or like had mm-hmm. kind of made it like a little bit of a side thing to like, okay, let's get on this and really do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us a little bit about how what do you offer right now in terms of online training? Like, how do you structure your offers?
Yeah, so it used to be just remote coaching, which is customized programming, and naturally, just with the pandemic, things have progressed. So I use TrueCoach, and I don't know if that's a later question or a now question, but I use TrueCoach for my programming. And so the, I guess, base of my programming is what I just call remote coaching or customized programming, which is athletes are getting 4 weeks. So 4-week blocks of a customized program based on their goals, what movements they're looking to develop, and obviously things like how much time they have to train and what equipment they have access to. So that's been kind of what I would say is the bulk of the services right now, is that base piece is just customized programming on a month-by-month basis. And I don't know if I can talk a little bit after about what that includes, but now, given things have changed, now I have more kind of offerings on top of that. So now there's check-in calls you can add on, or remote coaching, remote private lessons. So I have clients who get their programming, but then either once a week or even once a month jump on a remote private lesson so that I can actually see them in person. I have nutrition coaching. So there's kind of the base of customized programming has now kind of progressed to have different add-ons or variations depending on kind of how thorough someone needs support or needs kind of coaching development support.
Got it. So you offer your base is just a program. So like that doesn't include any FaceTime calls. That's just the program.
Yeah. So the base program, back, I guess, even as recent as a year or so ago, I had options that were, I guess, a little bit cheaper, in that it was, you just got the custom programming. There wasn't even things like video feedback, like where they could upload videos. And what I found was that, like, I feel like as a coach, I need to see how people move, especially with a lot of these skills focused training. I didn't necessarily feel comfortable trusting. I know that sounds like a kind of mean thing to say, trusting necessarily that they were doing the quality that I'd like to see. So I kind of removed that as an offering. And now, as part of that standard remote coaching package, they can upload their videos. Like that's most athletes take advantage of that. And within True Coach, for those who've used the platform, it's really easy for them to just upload videos. And so when I go review from a week to week basis, I'll take a peek at their videos and give them feedback, screenshot, give them details on what I'd like to see adjusted if there's adjustments that need to be made. So that's part of that base package. And a lot of clients, I think, find that based on just the online interactions and me giving them feedback on their videos, that's typically been enough. But there are certainly those who want that one-on-one chat at the end of the month, just to have that face time and that
right.
Opportunity to ask questions a little bit more thoroughly, I guess you could say.
And so all of your communication with your clients go through True Coach, like no one's emailing you or anything like that. It's
pretty much directly through True Coach. I give them my phone number and access to WhatsApp. So just because it's a little bit quicker. So I do say that if they're working on something and need some direct feedback, or they have a question and they need more immediate feedback, I do give them the opportunity to connect with me over WhatsApp. A few of them do that. Most are usually not needing something that's super urgent. So most of it's through True Coach at this point.
Got it. And so tell me a little bit about the add-ons that you now have. So you have people can book virtual sessions with you or get some nutrition coaching. What else did you say? There was another one.
So it's kind of the first point is the check-in call. And then second point would be the remote private lessons, which would just be essentially our private lessons. And then the nutrition as well. So I did my precision nutrition certification. And so I used the Pro Coach platform, which is one of their pre-developed kind of nutrition programs. From my experience with it, from my clients' experience with it, it's a really easy to follow program that's pre-formatted. It has some really valuable content and tools. So essentially, if someone were to sign up for nutrition and the customized programming, they are using two different platforms right now. So it'd be True Coach and then Pro Coach, which, I mean, not the most ideal. If you can have things on one platform, that's obviously the easiest for clients. But from my experience so far with it, people have found it pretty smooth and not too annoying to have to jump between.
And how do you structure your rates for all of it? Like, how do you decide how much for the add-ons and your base rate and all that?
Yeah, it's been a bit exploratory. Generally, my pricing starts around $150 Canadian a month for that base remote coaching, and then would start going up from there. So I would say it can be anywhere between $150 to $300 a month would be kind of the range right now. Obviously, closer to 300 is where you're going to see the nutrition and the custom programming, and it kind of falls in between. So even things like rates have changed a bit just as I've navigated having all these different packages. And the one thing I've actually found to be, I think, helpful for some people is that I'm able to charge a little bit less for personal training remotely because I don't have the overhead of paying the gym the rental fee. So that's been something that has been kind of a nice feature. And I think some people are maybe even more inclined to do the remote lessons just because they don't have to pay as big of a package fee for what would typically be in-person private lessons.
Got it. And how do people pay you? Does True Coach take money for you, or do you have them, or do you do it yourself? Do you do it?
Yeah, it's True Coach when I first signed up with them a while ago, they had said they were going to integrate in a payment software, and I haven't seen that. So that is one of the downfalls, I would say, is that you do have to do it separately. So I use QuickBooks online for my accounting and invoicing, although obviously that is an extra fee. So that is something that if you are on a budget, that's something you'd have to consider. So primarily what I've done is recurring invoices. So I can set it up so that once a client starts with me, I set up their first invoice to send out, and then you can have it send on a month-to-month basis. And truthfully, whatever system you use, I think having recurring invoicing or recurring payments is such a helpful step to do, because having to do it manually or remember to send those reminders can be a pain in the butt. And oftentimes you end up forgetting or the client forgets. So it's been primarily via just Interact e-transfer. So invoice sends out and then they send me a direct e-transfer, which has obviously been convenient in that it just goes straight into the bank. But I also do have PayPal set up. So if someone comes to me and they want to pay via credit card, or maybe they're international and they're not local to me and can't do the Interact as easy, then I'll set it up through PayPal and then they can just pay the credit card. So PayPal has been a super easy option. Obviously you lose a bit based on the credit card fees. And I think for any trainer, that's just something to keep in mind is it gives more options for clients to be able to pay in different ways, which is nice and convenient for them. But you do have to consider the cost, or consider that when you're making your rates and costs, that you're going to lose a little bit to those credit card fees when you go that route.
And with QuickBooks, I don't use QuickBooks myself. I'm curious. There's a monthly fee for QuickBooks Online, correct? And is there also a per transaction fee with that?
Yeah, so you can set up, so I don't have it set up, although I guess I could, I just never have. One of their newer features is that you can set up a credit card payment, like they could get their invoice, you can click pay and it gives them the credit card fee or the credit card option, and it would be the same thing as PayPal in that you'd have to pay a transaction fee.
Right. Okay. So, but without credit cards, if you just do a bank-to-bank transfer, there's no fee?
No. I think, well, I guess it depends on your bank and your region, but I know some banks, it's like $1 each, like it would be on the client's end.
Right. But not on the trainer's end.
No.
Okay. Got it. And how much does it cost to use True Coach per month for you? I mean, with your client load, I know it's based off of different amounts of clients, but
yeah, they go up in I think your first block is just up to 5 clients and up to 20 and then plus. So it's about $50 a month, is the cost that I pay. So it's, all the fees start adding up, and that's where you have to kind of even something like QuickBooks plus that, plus other things, you kind of have to, when you're coming up with your rates, think about all those things so that you're making sure you cover your costs.
Yeah, for sure. The other question I had for you is about, I know that before, quarantine happened, and you're in the Toronto area, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you have a lot of different certifications. You have GMB, you have Animal Flow, and before you had, your own company where you were doing gymnastic style trainings, you were doing a lot of workshops, and maybe some classes. So how are you transitioning with that stuff? Because I know that was a big part of your business before.
Yeah, it's been interesting, especially because, so last year, so the other business I run is Strong Gymnastics. So it's very specific to adult gymnastics. And we were traveling across the province doing adult gymnastics workshops, primarily in CrossFit gyms. That's been a big part of how I've gotten my clients. Definitely most of my clients to date are people who I've met through workshops, who I've taught at workshops, even taught through some of the GMB locomotion workshops that I did closer to the end of the year. So that has been a shift in that I've always felt more comfortable and have gotten more of my clients from the in-person work. I was also doing for kind of January, February, prior to lockdown, some kind of movement focus or bodyweight strength focused classes, and that was bringing me in more clients on the online remote coaching side of things. So it was a big plus. It was a big benefit to not only making a little bit extra money, but bringing in clients and helping people feel more comfortable with me. So making that shift now, it's made me realize how important it is to try and put out my personality and be able to convey some of those same things online via social media and stuff like that. And that's definitely been a challenge. I'm a bit of an introvert. I'm not super comfortable online. So being able to try and put out the same energy and get people getting to know me in the same ways that they would have in person now online, it's been a shift, and I'm probably not doing as much as I could. I'm trying to get more and more comfortable with that, but that's definitely something that I'm trying to work on. And then I've been trying to do some kind of free classes So free remote classes, just as an opportunity to stay, or I guess keep face with people that I haven't had the chance to work with in a while, who I may have met via workshops, and just have them continue to have the opportunity to see me and work with me via a class format. So I've been doing some Zoom classes and stuff like that, just kind of a pop-up format, just kind of from time to time when it seems like it works in the schedule, and just as a fun little, I guess, bonus to get people interacting with me a little bit more.
And so those live Zoom classes are free. You're just kind of doing them as like marketing.
So far, yeah, they've been marketing.
Got it. And you had mentioned to me some pre-recorded class stuff that you've been playing with. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, it's been fun. Again, being forced with the pandemic to kind of explore different avenues. So when the pandemic first started, I kind of freaked out a little bit, and I kind of rushed to put a bunch of content together. And I was actually really,
as we all did. We all did. Everybody panicked.
Yeah. So what I kind of launched was what I'd call like Strength and Flow series. So it's a series of classes that integrated stretching, animal flow, and just general body weight strength work, all things that could be done. Like I was doing most of it here in my little office space. And so I launched it via Teachable. So Teachable, I think some of the trainers maybe you've interviewed use. I know Chris from GMB uses that as well. So it's really like an online course platform. And so I launched using that. And what I realized is that that format, or that structure of program or software, sorry, probably is more conducive to a more like curriculum course-based type of program. So like eventually I'm going to put together like an 8-week handstand program, and more skill specific programs that progress. And what I found is that it didn't for the clients who were paying me for it, like they loved the content and it wasn't a bad program, but the format I don't think was as user friendly for them as it could have been. Oops, sorry, my dog's barking. He's dreaming. So what I've been exploring with for the kind of class format and is more I'm using Vimeo, the Vimeo on demand platform. So it's not launched yet, and I've set up a bunch of content, and I've been kind of tweaking the pre-recorded classes, but I think it's going to present itself in a more user-friendly way, in a way that people can just kind of click through the classes they want. And I'm going to keep the more kind of teachable curriculum type of platform specifically for courses. Got it. So I found that to be a switch I'm making, and obviously it's not launched yet, so I obviously have to kind of test it out and see how it goes. But I think the clients and the people that have worked with me previously, I think based on their feedback, I think that's going to be better suited to what they're looking for.
Right. And question about how are you going to offer these pre-recorded classes? Like, is it going to be another add-on to what you're already offering? Is it going to be its own separate thing? Like, are you going to drop one at a time, or how's it going to work?
It's a good question.
If you haven't figured it out, that's fine too. I'm just curious where you're at with it.
Yeah, so it's actually been nice. So I still have my Teachable program live. Like, people can still access the courses. I didn't just completely remove it. And it's actually been really nice having that as an add-on for my remote coaching clients. So it looks like it's not costing me anymore, but I can say when someone comes to me and I'm having essentially that sales call for them to sign up, you also get access to my Strength and Flow classes, which you can do anytime you want. So it has been a bit of an add-on in more recent new client calls. But what I'm probably going to do is make like an affordable subscription. So the Strength and Flow, my locomotion classes, my stretch classes, they're going to just be Vimeo on demand, like a affordable, I don't know yet, $15-20 a month maybe, kind of subscription based service that people can do on the side. And then it becomes an easy add-on for any of my bigger programs. So if I launch an 8-week course, or have someone sign up for remote coaching, you also get access to this for free, which again isn't a big hit on my end, but gives them and helps them feel like they're getting more out of it. So that's kind of what I'm
Got it.
thinking right now.
So it'll be like an addition, like an enhancement to your online private clients, or it can be just a subscription thing for people who want a low cost
Yeah,
option to work with you.
exactly. And um, my goal is that, like, I've obviously loved remote coaching and it's fun getting to do the more customized work, but at the end of the day, having programs that can create more residual income, things that are pre-developed, is where you're really going to start making money and be able to make a more realistic income. So just those kind of little programs to have on the side that even bring in a few hundred extra bucks a month can make a difference. So that's kind of what I'm aiming to do with some of these pre-developed programs or on-demand type of programs.
Yeah, for sure. You said something a second ago that I want to come back to, which is, do you have a sales call with people before they sign on with you? Like when, say, like I was in one of your workshops and I email you and I say, hey, Jen, I loved your workshop. I'd love to explore some remote coaching options with you. What happens then?
Yeah, so it's really dependent on I guess the person. Some people who feel comfortable with me, it's simply I'll respond and give them my essentially sales sheet. It has my rates and offer to jump on a call with them. For some, I'll just say let's jump on a call, and I have a platform called Acuity set up, which is a scheduling system, and that's integrated with Zoom. So as soon as they book their call, it generates a Zoom link and gets things all good to go. So they have that option. Some people choose to jump on a call with me, and more so, I'd say maybe it's just because people are more comfortable being on Zoom now. More often than not, people are jumping on a call with me, and even if they're already pretty set on purchasing whatever they're going to purchase from me, it still seems to be something that they feel more comfortable with, because then I can even talk about more of the expectations of getting started and that kind of stuff as well. So typically it's only 10, maybe 15 minutes long. I don't go much longer than that. It's a free call, but typically that's what helps them make them feel more comfortable with making the decision or moving forward in whatever capacity that looks like.
Right. Yeah. I've found that too, that more people feel comfortable with a call first. Especially if they've never met me in person.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, great. So tell me a little bit more about how you're moving forward, because I know that you are going to be changing your marketing. You're really investing some time and money into developing a consistent marketing plan for your coaching and your programs. So can you talk a little bit about what you're doing moving forward?
Yeah, so I've actually invested in, I guess you call it, a business consulting company, or a company that can provide me a little bit of extra support on that front. It's hard to do it all as a coach. You want to focus on developing good programs and good services and content, and then the marketing and actually growing your clientele, growing your following, all those kind of things kind of fall to the side, and it's hard to be able to do all the things well. So the process I'm going through right now with this company is that I'm trying to create what's called a signature program. So coming back to what I talked about in terms of like residual income and having more concrete programs that are just pre-developed, what I'm working on is creating a 3-month program that is going to be nutrition and body weight strength focused, kind of I would call a foundational program, but a program that I can be able to charge closer to that kind of $1,000 a month, or $1,000 for the full program, right. Something a little bit more hefty, but is something that is there. It's made. I can sell more confidently and know that I'm going to have, again, that kind of safety net in terms of more concrete income. So what I'm doing right now is obviously building out the program itself, but what is going to be kind of the exciting part of my investment in this program and getting the support is all the marketing side of things. And essentially what we're going to be doing is building out a lot of lead generation work. So once I have my program developed, it's how do I build my email list? How do I create confidence in people so that they want to buy a program from me? And a lot of that comes from content generation, is talking to people through emails and your social media and what you're putting in your Facebook groups and that kind of stuff. It's building confidence and trust in you and your expertise. So it's me starting to build out lead generation, so free content that gets me their emails so that I can communicate a little bit more. We're going to be using ClickFunnels, which is it's a platform, and obviously it's another monthly fee, but it's valuable in that it allows you to create sales processes and sales funnels that more easily help you track new clients coming in. It gives you different touch points with them, which essentially build them to hopefully, again, gain that kind of trust and confidence in buying from you. And there's going to be sales calls and all that kind of stuff. So the process right now, and I know that sounded a little bit confusing, is just like building out these different components to end in a system that essentially is people get in touch via email or my Facebook group. They set up a call, they maybe enter their information, and they get taken through an entire funnel that gives them more information, and hopefully at the end they can click that buy button and get launched right into the program. And I think actually within ClickFunnels, we're going to be developing out the entire program. So similar to like a Teachable, you can actually you can create full program content within it, so that if someone does go through your funnel and click buy, like they don't even have to leave the platform. So there's some cool things like that we're working on, and I'm just at the very beginning stages with them. So I guess I can't walk through the full thing, but that's kind of where I'm going with that, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to, my goal is that this is my full-time career. Like I'm trying to make a go at this. And I think these are the kind of steps that need to be taken in terms of being able to grow and take those steps forward.
Yeah. So I just want to explain a couple things for trainers who might be listening who don't understand sales funnels or email marketing. So just to break it down to like easy steps and how it works is by creating free content that you can capture emails, you start to build, your email list, so you have more and more people to communicate with. A sales funnel is once somebody gives you their email address, they then enter a system of pre-made emails that you, like Jenn's going to make ahead of time, so that they get their free thing, they get their email. That's the first step of the funnel. And then Jenn's will have made all of this other free content, all these other emails they're made, they're stored in the system. And the sales funnel slowly starts sending those emails out over time. So if you've ever signed up online for like a free thing, you'll notice that you immediately get the free thing. And then probably a day later, you get some kind of welcome email to that company. And then like 2-3 days after that, you get another email from the company telling you about their products or telling you a little bit more about the company. And that's what a sales funnel is. It's basically, you've made all this content ahead of time, you've entered it in the system, and then you don't have to be the person clicking send the thing. Like the system does it for you. And it's a process that many trainers talk to me about feeling really slimy doing marketing. And this is a process that some companies are really slimy with. They are really salesy and icky, and it can feel really bad to get those emails. And then there are other people, and a lot of trainers I know, who use the platform and the whole funnel system as a way to educate clients and to build trust and to build that relationship in a way that's not slimy, that's not always trying to sell something, but you're actually trying to give people information. And the more information people get about how you work and who you are as a trainer, that relationship gets stronger and you have more trust. So there's more of a likelihood that they're going to buy something from you. Yeah. So how are you feeling about that whole process? Like in terms of, creating that content and building those relationships and things like that? Because I know it can feel overwhelming. And the biggest question I get from trainers is like, how do I sell things online? And I always come back to it's the relationships you build. If you don't have those relationships, you can't just sell something. It doesn't really work that way.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, at the end of the day, even like using social media and putting yourself out there and having people build that relationship and learn from you that way is obviously a great stepping point or starting point. So that's important regardless. But I think if you are wanting to take that next step, it is like at some point you're going to have to invest in marketing and sales, and that's just kind of a reality. And I think the overwhelm is a good word for, I think up until I invested in this company to support me, all I felt was overwhelm. And it's like when you think about trying to do this, like it's hard to know where to start when you're trying to focus on all these different things. So I think whether you're working with a company or not, like you need to create some very specific processes and timelines for starting with one thing and then building to the next. And so again, within like this program, for example, it's keeping me focused on one piece. So it's going to be building the program, and then we're going to move on to I'm not there yet, so I don't know the exact steps, but building out the emails for the funnel. Like it's going to be a step-by-step process. And I think that's the biggest thing, is having a process in place or working with someone that's going to give you that process so that you don't feel so overwhelmed. And in terms of the feeling slimy, like I think at the end of the day, because it's funny, I've come from a bit of a marketing background, and I still feel uncomfortable with sales. Like it's just it's normal. But I think when you think about the fact that if you genuinely believe in your product and know that your product or service helps people, like you should feel confident in talking about that. And it doesn't need to, like, people are coming to you for expertise and support, and if you genuinely believe what you have to offer can help, just show that in what you're talking about. Like, doesn't need to feel slimy. And maybe people don't want to get what you're offering, and that's okay. That's going to happen. But I think if you believe in what you're offering, it's that should show in how you talk about it and the passion you have for what you do, more than anything.
Yeah, I feel like trainers, I hear a lot of times, like, I don't want to be that person or whatever, like, and feel like their training should stand for itself and that people should, be able to find them anyway. And the reality of that in the online world is just, there's too much other stuff. There's too much noise. And yes, you will get referrals from people for sure. But like you were saying, if you want to scale, if you want more than just a handful of online clients, if you want to be driving like a lot of traffic into your site and buying your programs and really make that happen in a more automated way, you can't do that by referrals just alone, just by word of mouth. You have to be putting yourself out there to a larger audience.
Yeah, for sure. And like investing in, whether it's Google ads or Facebook ads, like those are all part of that process as well. And I think those are the investments that I think people are hesitant to make, but they will pay off. And the joy of online training is that you literally have the whole world at your fingertips, right? Like you're not limited to just your local clientele. Like you have this huge opportunity. So it might mean a little bit of investment up front, but it might mean you open the doors to working with people from all over the world. Like look at GMB, like works with people you guys work with people from all over, and that's such a cool thing. So
yeah, it's definitely, you get to reach a larger audience. Can I ask you about the company that you're working with, and like, ballpark of how much it costs? I talked with another trainer who has been using passion.io, which is a couple thousand up front, but she already made it back by the time she launched. So I just want to put that out there that, these numbers are usually on the high end to get this stuff up and rolling, but it's because the return once it starts is much higher than a couple of clients. It's much bigger than that.
Yeah. So this is a local company. So I had been referred to her or her company through another health practitioner that I know locally here. And so her name is Lori Kennedy, and it's called the 10K Success Program. So she has different levels of programs. The 10K Success Program is specifically for individuals who are already at least running some sort of online program and fairly comfortable with their services and offerings. And the idea is essentially they're helping you build a program and sales funnel and system that eventually could lead to bringing in $10,000 a month. Like it's called the 10K Success Program, so that if you have a program at, let's say, $1,000 a month, or not a month, per purchase, if you can even bring in up to 10 new clients a month using all these different systems, obviously it's a good place to be and helps you again reach that
sure
comfortable income level. So it was a big investment. I don't know if I want to say the full amount, multiple thousands of dollars, let's just say that. It was I actually took out a bit of a loan and invested in it. It's been something I've been looking at for a while, and it's one of those things, obviously it's scary to make big investments, but I'm at a point where I know if I put in the work and follow the systems and structure, it's going to pay itself back. And obviously that's the goal. And I think sometimes it's scary to make these investments, but if it's something that you believe in and you know you're going to put in the time and ready to put in that work to put or take that business to the next step, I think it's typically worth it. Obviously, you have to make sure you're comfortable and that what you're investing in has proven itself. You don't want to invest in a no-name company that has no track record, but I think that's the reality. And for me, again, I want this to be my livelihood, and so a scary big investment was scary, but like there's no better time.
Right.
There's never gonna be the perfect time, I don't think.
Right. And just for numbers' sake, because I always like talking numbers with trainers because it can feel like, oh, those are big amounts of money, but let's just like, I'm just making up a number and I don't know how much Jenn paid for this course, but like, let's say she paid 10 grand for it. Okay. So she spends 6 months or so building this out. And in the first year after she launches, let's say she only gets 20 people all year to sign up. She still made 10K off of doing that program. So she paid herself back the 10K and then she made 10K additionally. And let's talk about how, if you're doing Facebook ads, you're doing email marketing, like if you, like 20 people is being extremely conservative. Like, but let's say that's just like, let's lowball it, really lowball it. Like you still made some money off of doing it, and it will only grow from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, because sometimes people get really freaked out by like paying upwards of $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 to like do this process. But it's because it's going to, the revenue that can come back from like going forward with the whole thing is much higher than what we're used to.
Exactly. And I think and I know I've done this too, like I think as a coach, you have invested probably a number of thousands of dollars into your coaching certifications and coaching programs. Yeah.
This is a conversation I have with trainers all the time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But then it's like, it's that kind of perception that you have to just keep getting coaching certifications and that's going to only take your business to the next level. But then there's not the investment in the actual business side of things. And so you're always, it doesn't matter how many coaching certifications you have, if you're not actually learning how to progress your business or do the marketing, do the sales, it's still going to be the same. Like, so I think you need to get to a point where you're fairly confident and know that what certifications you have, what expertise you have is good enough, and you need to start focusing on building the business and the other side of things.
Thank you. I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about this. It's true, because if I always ask trainers, think about this, like I'm never against continuing education. Continuing education is awesome. And as a trainer, I've been in the industry for over 10 years. I love going and taking a weekend certification. It's super fun. You learn something new, but you also have to ask yourself, did I get new clients from this? Because the answer is probably no. Like maybe a few smaller certifications like GMB or Animal Flow, where the trainer pool is much smaller. You know, if you're listed on their website, you might get some people, but relative to, you know, spending some money to like figure out marketing and really put a system in place, you're not going to get, it's just totally different thing. Yeah. But we have no problem dropping a grand on a weekend cert. Like most trainers are like, sign me up. But you say drop a grand on marketing, they're like, whoa, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It has to be done.
Yeah, for sure. The other question I wanted to ask you is, are you thinking about, like, I'm sure this is going to be part of your program, but figuring out who your ideal client is and working on like who you're really going to focus your marketing in on? Yeah,
that's been a part of the process. That was kind of a first steps in kind of fine tuning and focusing the program. I like to call my ideal client the everyday athlete, typically between 30 and 50 years old. So I'm generally working with people who are already involved in fitness, who, and it comes a little bit from my own experiences and working a lot with CrossFitters, just because that's been my world primarily for the last years. It's people who are used to pushing themselves. They maybe have come from a competitive background or now are involved in things like CrossFit or doing marathons or things like that. So there are people who are motivated and push themselves but to sometimes what I'd say is like a detriment. So maybe they're dealing with nagging injuries now, or are plateauing and not reaching the skills that they want to reach. And so my goal is to work with those athletes to slow them down and help them learn, I would say, the more kind of foundational pieces of movement, and help them grow as an athlete so that they can not only move well for now, but with the long term in mind. And it's easy to kind of, again, from my own experience, push yourselves to these extremes and push yourselves hard in all these classes and competitions and things like that, because it's fun for now, but oftentimes you're not thinking about the future you and how you're going to feel in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. And so that's generally who I'm working with, is that kind of CrossFit type, or what I call, again, the everyday athlete, who are just ready to kind of slow down or learn how to move their body in a way that's going to keep them injury free for the long term.
Nice. And you said you're starting to, talk more on your social media and build these relationships more, which I think is really hard for all trainers. I haven't met somebody who's like, yeah, I love being on social media more and trying to talk to people. But last thing I just wanted to ask you is, like, what are some strategies you're using for that, or like, how's that going for you?
Well, I would say that's probably not going great yet. No, I'm just I think one of the biggest things, I don't know if struggle is the right word, but if I look back at my social media, it's very much only been fitness, and it's very much just about training and fitness and that side of things. And I think one of the bigger things, especially if you're your business, like if you're a sole proprietor, or like again, you are the sole person in your business, people need to get to know you, like, as a person. And so I think if you're only showing one side of you, it's maybe not giving them the full picture. And I think one thing that I'm learning, and obviously it's growing for me too, is trying to present other sides of your life. So if you like I'm a dog person, I have my dog, I love sharing photos and videos with my dog in the training videos, or just me and my dog, or my boyfriend, or traveling. Like, I think it's much bigger than just the fitness and health. And if people get to know you and your likes and quirks and personality, like that, those are the things that help people connect with you more.
Yeah.
And decide if they like you and want to work with you. Like, there's, at the end of the day, there's a ton of trainers out there doing the same things as me. Like, it's the reality. But if someone likes my vibe and likes the things that I like and has that connection, those are going to be the things that make them buy from me, instead of the next guy who offers the same thing but has a different personality and different likes and dislikes, right? So I think that's been my biggest step with social media, is trying to not feel like I have to only post one very specific part of my life. Like, it's trying to actually expand that and be comfortable talking about other things or sharing other things, so that people can connect with me a little bit more.
Well, and something I've seen you do more of lately, and I'll post the link to your Instagram and stuff in our notes, but something I've seen you do recently is you've been doing more like talking head type stuff in your stories, which has been interesting just to get to know you. I mean, I've known you for a while, but I feel like I've gotten to know you more watching your stories, which is the whole point. But that you are very transparent when things are hard, or like that your nutrition's not perfect. Like, I feel like I've seen, like, you do walkthroughs of your refrigerator, and you definitely have things in there that you're like, yeah, I like these things. Sorry. Like, not sorry. And doing longer runs and saying, like, my knees are done. Like, whatever. So I feel like you're really transparent in talking to your audience about, like, one, what you're doing, but also two, like, that you're human. And things are hard for you sometimes, and that you're not perfect. And that's revealing about who you are as a trainer as well.
Yeah, I think it can, and I'm guilty of this too. It's hard to see others on social media who are posting those beautiful, like, perfectionist photos and things, and you're like, man, like that looks so good, but then you're not necessarily getting to know that person. So to your point, like, I think the more you can put out the real you, those are those moments that people are going to connect. Like, my goal, like, everyone who follows me knows that I'm I am that everyday athlete who has an obsession with being competitive and pushing myself, but I experience the repercussions of that. And like, I'm trying to share my experiences so that others can learn from it too, just as I'm learning from myself. And yeah, for sure. Like, I think the more of that I can share and you guys can share about yourselves, like that makes a really big difference.
Yeah, for sure. And last question for you, Jen. What is something like a piece of advice or one thing that you would recommend for trainers who are like either wanting to start in online training and haven't yet, or are starting in online training, but still at the more early stages of it?
Yeah. There's probably a million things I could say. I'm actually gonna say what was kind of my word and mantra for 2020 when the year started is stay focused. And what I mean by that is um, like, choose one thing to focus on and let yourself focus on that. Put that time and energy in, and think about it like small steps that add up. And I think it's easy to look at big picture and, like we talked about earlier, get just overwhelmed by it all and start doing a million different things. And what happens when you start doing a million different things is that you get overwhelmed, or things don't get finished, or they don't get finished to the quality that maybe you want. So stay focused. Like, let yourself dive into one piece of the puzzle and do that well and finish that, and then know that you can move on and focus on the next thing. Because I think if you let yourself think of the big picture and like get overwhelmed by that, you're gonna progress a lot slower, and you're just not gonna hit the goals that I think you probably want to hit.
Right on. Yep. One step at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to do this call. I think that trainers will get a lot of good info from it, and I'll make sure to tag you where I post it so that if people have questions, you can answer them.
Yeah, I'd love that. Feel free.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Again.
you.
Bye, everybody.